So, question 1. We start off being asked for the factors of 40. Now, the factors are the small whole numbers that when multiplied by another factor would give you 40. So, 8 is a factor because 8 times 5 equals 40. So, both 8 and 5 would be factors, but 8 is the only one on the list. Now, for part B, a multiple of 7, that is just anything which is in the 7 times table. So multiples are big, factors are small. So multiple of 7, something in the 7 times table will be 35. Because 7 times 5 equals 35. So the answer is 35. Now a prime number is a number which has only got two factors, 1 and itself. So the only way you can make it is 1 times itself. And the only prime number here is 17. Because the only way you can get 17 is 1 times 17. Everything else you can get another way. For example, 9 is 3 times 3. 35 is 7 times 5. Now a square number is what you get when it's a number times itself. So 9 is a square number because 3 times 3 equals 9. So the only square number here is 9. Now, in the final part E, two numbers with a difference of 31. So when you take one number away from the other, you get 31. So if we do 48 and 17, 48 take away 17, pop that into your calculator, you will see that you get 31. So 48 and 17, 17 and 48. Question 2. So write down the number marked with the arrow. So as you go from 12 to 13, we're going up in 5 stages. So that's 12.2, 12.4, 12.6, 12.8, 13. So that there is 12.6. Now for part B, the diagram shows a parcel on weighing scales. The parcel weighs less than 6 kilograms. How many kilograms less? So going from 4 to 5, again there is 5 steps. So we're going up by 0.2 each time. So 4.2, 4.4, 4.6. Now 6 kilograms take away 4.6 is 1.4 kilograms. Just check that on your calculator, just to be doubly sure. Now part C, changing 7.6 meters into centimeters. Now, when you see cent, think century or centipede. It's something to do with 100. So it's 7.6 times 100, which is 760 centimeters. Again, you're very welcome just to check that on your calculator. Now, whenever it says milli, that's 1,000. So going from milliliters into liters, 91,600 divided by 1,000. Again, I would suggest you double check on your calculator, but that gives you 91.6. And then for the 24-hour clock, as we go into the afternoon, you're just adding 12 on to the 12 hours in the morning. So adding 12 on to 7 is 19. So that's 19:15. And just be careful, you don't put AM or PM. A 24-hour clock, you leave out the AM or PM. If you wrote 19:15 PM, you would not get the marks. So just 19:15. Question 3. Now the number halfway between two numbers is the average of those two numbers. So how do we average two numbers? Well, you add them together. 3.7 add 6.1. And then that number, you then halve it, you divide it by 2. Now 3.7 add 6.1. 3.7 add 6.1 is 9.8. So 9.8 divided by 2 is 4.9. Question 4. So part A, 3 times 10 times D. Well, 3 times 10 is 30. So that's just 30D. Part B. So 8e plus e is 9e. And then 9e take away 5e is just 4e. Right, part C. 6 times what is 42? Well, 6 sevens are 42, so you might just be able to go straight to 7. Alternatively, how do you undo a timesing by 6? You divide both sides by 6. So G is 42 over 6. Pop that into your calculator and you get 7. And part D, well, again, you might just be able to do this by sight. 10 plus what gives you 24? Well, that's 14. But if you can't see that by sight, just sort of work your way there. 10 plus h is h plus 10. How do we undo a plussing of 10? We take away 10 from both sides. 24 take away 10 is 14. 14 equals h. h equals 14. Question 5. Write these numbers in order of size. Start with the smallest. So I think in a way it's almost easier to make them all the same size. So you have the same number of numbers after the decimal point. So let's have them all with 4 numbers after the decimal point. And then you can really kind of ignore the 2's and just compare the others. So really this is 800, this is 1300, this is 7000, this is 34, and this is 111. So the smallest number is 2.0034. Maybe just cross it off so you know you've done that one then. Then the next one is 2.08. Then we got 2.111. Then 2.13. And finally 2.7. Okay, so we started off with all the ones that have got 0 as the first decimal point. Then we've moved on to those that have got 1 after the decimal point, picking between those two, and finally with a 7 after the decimal point. Now write 5.8394 correct to 2 decimal places. Now that means 2 numbers after the decimal point. So you're weighing up between 5.83 and 5.84. Now it's closer to 5.84, so that's our answer. Now write 0.73 as a fraction. Well, we've got the tenths column and then the hundredths column. Think of the 7 as pushing into the hundredths column. That's 73 over 100. Now part D, write down the value of the 6 in the number 0.06. So that's 6 in the hundredths column. Okay, so you can either write 6 hundredths or you can write 6 over 100. What you can't do is write down 0.06. Now write 17% as a decimal. Well, percent means out of 100. 17 out of 100. That's just 17 over 100. Now you could just put that into your calculator to work it out, but that's 0.17. Now 70% of a number is 252. Work out the number. Now you've got to be careful with the wording here. If they were asking us to work out what 70% of 252 was, you would just do 70% times 252. But this is going the other way. This is working backwards. This is when we've already done the 70%. We want to go back to the beginning. So rather than multiplying, we're going to be dividing. So this is going to be 252 divided by 70%. Okay, so that's 252 divided by 0.7. Just popping that into the calculator. 252 divided by 0.7 is 360. Again, just check your answer. Going the other way is 70% of 360, 252. Do 360 times 0.7 and you do get 252. Question 6. Now, Janine has 2 litres of orange squash. Now, later on in the question, we're talking about millilitres. So it would be useful to be working in millilitres all the way through. So 2 litres, so convert that into millilitres. We multiply that by 1,000. So we get 2,000 millilitres. Now, each cup holds 300 millilitres. So if we divide the 2,000 by 300, it will tell us how many cups we can fill. So do 2,000 divided by 300, and we get 6 2/3 cups. Right, we get 6.6666 recurring. So we can fill 6 cups, okay, and then we've got some left over. So how many orange squash does, so she fills as many cups as possible. How much orange squash does she have left over after filling as many as she can? Well, she can fill 6 2/3. So how many can she fill completely? That's 6. So she can fill 6 cups. Each of them takes 300. So she's using up 1,800 millilitres out of a total of 2,000 millilitres. So how much is left over? It's 2,000 take away the 1,800, which is 200. And the question asks for millilitres, so it's 200 millilitres. Or you could have converted it back into litres and said 0.2 litres. Okay, question 7. Now we're told the perimeter of the rectangle is equal to the perimeter of the square. So that's the starting point. Perimeter is the length all the way around the shape. So with the rectangle, that's a 6 and that's a 10. So running all the way around the rectangle, we've obviously got a 6, add a 10, add a 6, add a 10, which is 32. So it's 32 centimetres all the way around the rectangle. Now we've told that it's the same length all the way around the square. So it's also 32 centimetres around the square. Now obviously the square has got 4 sides of the same length. So how long is each side? 32 divided by 4 is 8. So we know that each of these sides around the square is 8. And just double check. 8 add 8 add 8 add 8. Yep, that's 32. 10 add 6 add 10 add 6 is 32. Now the question's then actually asking us the area of the rectangle is less than the area of the square. Work out by how much the area is less. So we need to work out both the areas. Now to work out the area of both the square or a rectangle, it's just base times height. So for the rectangle, 10 times 6 is 60. And for the square, 8 times 8 is 64. So work out by how much the area of the rectangle is less than the area of the square. Well, obviously that's 64, take away 60. So it is 4 centimetres squared less. Okay, question 8. So, some students leave a language school one day, will ask each which language lesson they had just attended. The table gives you some information. Now, what we need to do, we need to break the code. How do we go from frequency to degrees and backwards? Well, the Italian information is the one we need. We know that 24 students represents 30 degrees. So, how many degrees per student? We're going to do 30 divided by 24. So if you do 30 divided by 24 on your calculator, you get 5 over 4, which is 1.25. So basically we've broken the code. To go from frequency to angles, we're going to multiply by 1.25. So Arabic, do 48 times 1.25, and we get 60. Spanish, do 80 times 1.25, and we get 100. Now for French, we're going the other way. So going right to left, we're going to have to divide by 1.25. 95 divided by 1.25 is 76. So as things stand, we don't know anything about the English row. But what we do know is that the angles in the pie chart have to add up to 360. So working backwards, if we add up all the ones we've got 30, add 95, add 60, add 100, which is 285. Take that away from 360, and we get 75 as the degrees for English. And then divide that by 1.25 to go back to the number of English students, which is 60. So that's completing the table. Okay, so for part B, we're being asked to complete the table and the pie chart. Well, okay, well, I've done that, so that means that I can go back and answer part A now, work out the number of students who answered French. Well, that's obviously 76. Right, so now filling in the angles, using my protractor rather, I've got French and Italian already on there, so I now need to do the Arabic, which has got to be 60 degrees. So get your protractor, bring it up to the center, line it up with, get the noughts where the Italian one finishes, and you can see that as I go around there, that if I start with the nought, then the 10, then the 20, so actually I'm using the inner scale for going around, so my 60 degrees is there. Okay, so my 60 degrees is to about that, just to do a mark on 60 degrees. Take my protractor away and then draw in that line. So that's going from there up to there, just to that. So that is my Arabic. So that's my 60 degrees Arabic. Then go and get my protractor again and just go around and pop it on top. Again, line it up in the middle, twist it round until it's lined up with where my Arabic finishes on the 0. And now I've got to go around and do 75 degrees for English, which takes me around to that. I'm trying to do the mark just where the protractor finishes. It's quite hard to do it on line, but try and get that mark lined up. So that's on the 75. Move your protractor away. Okay, draw that line in. So that's going to that mark there. Right, so it's going to there. Okay, and that is my English section, which is 75 degrees. Now just go and measure your final one and do check that it's exactly 100 degrees, okay? Worth checking. So just lining this up, I'm going to line this up on the other end now. Okay, lining that up on the other end. Okay, it's just slightly slipped. Lining it up. Okay, and that's on 100 degrees. So I've got that right. So finally I've got English, I've got Spanish. With my 100 degrees. Question 9. Now, this question is all about the special offers. Buy 2 pens, we get 1 3. So really every little batch of pens comes in batches of 3s. You get 2 pens that you pay for, you get 1 free. That's 3 pens. And then 6, and there's 9, and so on. So basically, think about 25 pens. That's going to be 3 lots of the special offer, and then 1 extra pen. So think about it. We've got 3 lots of the special offer. 8 lots of the special offer. Let me say that again. Okay, we get 3 pens with the special offer. We need 25 pens. That's 8 lots of the special offer. 8 3s are 24. Then we need to buy 1 pen on its own. 1 pen on its own. Okay, so 8 lots of the special offer will give me 8 times 3, which is 24 pens. 24 add 1 is 25 pens. So that's basically the number of pens. Now, how much am I having to pay for 8 lots of the special offer? Well, each special offer, I'm actually only having to pay for 2 pens. Okay, so I'm having to pay 34 cents and 34 cents. So each special offer, I'm only having to pay for 68 cents. So it's 8 lots of the 68 cents. That gives me 24 pens, and then the first pen I've got to go and buy, paying my 34 cents. So 8 lots of 68 is 544 plus the 34 cents is 578 cents. Question 10. Now, you may have been taught to do this by way of equivalent fractions, and I think in a way really that is the best way. But as you're doing IGCSE and you've got the luxury of using calculators, I think the easiest, safest way to answer these is just to turn all of these into decimals. So 3 divided by 8, press the SD button, is 0.375. All right, a quarter you probably know is 0.25. 7 over 20, do 7 divided by 20 equals, press the SD button, that's 0.35. And 5 divided by 16, press the SD button, is 0.3125. So they're then easily comparable. 0.25 is my smallest, then 0.3125, then 0.35, then 0.375. So use that ordering to place the orders, the fractions in order smallest first. So that's a quarter is the smallest, then the second smallest, which is 5/16, and the third smallest, which is 7/20, and then the fourth smallest, which is 3/8. Now for part B, there are only green beads and red beads in a bag. The ratio of green to red is 5:9. So green to red is 5:9. What fraction of the beads in the bag are green? Now don't fall into the trap. Don't go and say 5 out of 9. There aren't 9 beads. There are 5 plus 9 beads. The total number of beads is 5 add 9, which is 14. So what fraction of the beads in the bag are green is 5 out of 14. Question 11. So we've got to find the angle on the outside of the shape, this angle x. So to do that, well, obviously this angle here is 90, because it's the corner of a square. So we're going to go and work out what this angle here is in red. And then if we add that to 90 degrees, which is the corner of the square, and then subtract both of those together from 360, because that's angles about a point, angles in a circle, that will give us what x is. So how do we go about working out this angle inside this 5-sided shape, this regular pentagon? Well, there's 2 ways to do it. You can either use the interior or exterior angle method, or you can use the triangle method. So if we just take any point inside this shape and break it down into triangles, we can see that it's got 3 triangles. Now each triangle has 180 degrees. The angles in any triangle total 180. So we've got 3 triangles, so 180 times 3 is 540. So the angles inside that shape add up to 540. Now how many angles are there inside that shape? Well, it's a 5-sided shape, 5 angles. So each of them is going to be 540 divided by the 5 angles, which is 108 degrees. So that angle there, that angle inside the shape, just like with all the angles inside the shape, is going to be 108 degrees. So we're nearly there. So angle X is going to be 360, take away the 90 degrees and take away the 108 degrees. So just on the calculator, 360, take away 90, take away 108 degrees. That gives us 162 degrees. Question 12. So on the grid, reflect the shape in the line with equation x equals 6. So we've got to put in the mirror line x equals 6. Now the temptation is to put in a line parallel to the x-axis on 6, but that isn't the line x equals 6. It needs to be the vertical line down through 6. Okay, that line there is the line x equals 6. And if you just wanted to double check, just think of any coordinates on that line, like 6, 0, 6, 1, 6, 2. Right, 6, 0, 6, 1, 6, 2. And each time the x coordinate, the first number is 6. So that is the mirror line x equals 6. So after you've got the mirror line drawn in, you've just got to reflect all the points across that mirror line. So that point there is bang on the mirror line, so that doesn't move. That point there is 1, 2, 3, 4, so it goes 4 the other way, 1, 2, 3, 4. That point there is 3 away, 1, 2, 3. That point is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 away, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So there are your points. With the ruler, go and join those together. giving you that shape like that. But please do it with the ruler. I'm just, it's a lot quicker for me just not to use the ruler function. Now, for part B, describe fully the single transformation that maps P onto Q. So the small shape onto the big shape. Now, it's 3 marks, so there's 3 points you need to make. Well, it's an enlargement. It's getting bigger. So it's an enlargement. Now, how much bigger is it getting? Think about each length. Now, that length along, well, let's take the height. The height of P is 1. The height of Q is 3. So it's 3 times as big. Each length is 3 times as big. So the second point to make is scale factor 3. And then thirdly, you need the center of enlargement. So what I suggest you do, get your ruler out and go from one point to the same point, then go from another point to the same point, and just see where those 2 lines cross. And they are crossing at the origin. So the third point you need to make is center of enlargement 0, 0. Center of enlargement 0, 0. Okay, enlargement scale factor 3, center of enlargement 0, 0. So, question 13. A bus leaves a bus station to go to the hospital every 16 minutes. Buses leave the same bus station to go to college every 20 minutes. They leave together at 9. When's the next time they would leave at the same time? Okay, so whilst you can do this by way of a Venn diagram, I think it's just better just to think of both buses. So let's that bus that goes every 16 minutes. Okay, so it's first, so we know one leaves at 9 a.m. and then it's every 16 minutes. So 9:16, 9:32, 9:48, and then let me think, 10:04, 10:20, and so on. Let's just stop there for now. Now, the one that leaves every 20 minutes, okay, 9 o'clock, and this is an easy one, isn't it? 9:20, 9:40, 10 o'clock, and then 10:20. So the next bus, the next time, the bus that goes every 16 minutes and the bus that leaves every 20 minutes will leave at the same time is at 10:20. So 10:20 a.m. Final answer. Question 14. So complete the Venn diagram. So all the numbers in the universal set, 1 to 15, have to be placed somewhere in that rectangle, somewhere inside the Venn diagram. Now, if they're an even number, they'll go in the A circle. If they're a multiple of 3, they go in the B circle. And of course, if they are both an even number and a multiple of 3, they'll go in the intersection in the middle. So if I were you, I would just work my way along. So number 1 is neither even nor a multiple of 3. And perhaps just cross it out just to prove that you've done it. Then number 2, well, that's even. Then number 3 is a multiple of 3. It's in the 3 times table. 4 is even. 5 is neither. Now 6 is an even number and a multiple of 3. So that goes in the middle. 7 is neither. 8 is even. 9 is a multiple of 3, but it's not even. 10 is even. 11 is neither. Now 12 is even and a multiple of 3. So basically anything which is in the 6 times table will go in the middle. 13 is neither. 14 is even. And 15 is a multiple of 3. So just double check, have you got all your numbers? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Yep, so every number's been placed somewhere, 14 and 15. Question 15. Now to start off, we need to complete the two-way table. So let's look at the hockey column, okay? There are 39 students who play hockey in total. 27 of them are in year 11. So obviously the rest must be in year 10, so that's going to be 12. That's just 39 take away 27. Now, with the rugby, 42 are in year 10, 58 altogether. So the year 11s must be 58 take away 42, which is 16. Now, I can work out the football year 10s because it's 12 add 42 add something equals 78. So to work out the year 10 footballs, I'm going to do 78 take away 42 take away 12, which is 24. Now I can do the total year 11s, this one over here, by 150 take away 78, which is 72. Now looking at the year 11s, I can now work out the year 11 football, 72 take away 16 take away 27. 72 take away 16 take away 27, which is 29. Now I can do my total football, 24 and 29. Which is 53. And no bad thing just doing a final check. So why don't I just double check that that bottom row does indeed add up to 150. So 39, add 58, add 53. Yes, it does add up to 150. Now for part B, work out the percentage of the 150 students who are on year 10. Well, there are 150 students. Now, how many are in year 10? That's 78. It's 78 out of 150. 78 out of 150. Now, to turn that into a percentage, just work out that fraction and multiply it by 100 to turn it into a percentage. So 78 divided by 150 times 100. Press my SD button if I need to. That's 52%. Okay, so question 16. Work out the average speed of the plane. Now, if you can't remember how to work out the average speed, here's a little hint for you. Go and have a look at the units that are in the answer. Now look, it's kilometers divided by hours. So you know that to work out the speed, you're going to have to do kilometers divided by the hours. Now the kilometers is easy. That's 5658 kilometers. And now we've got to divide that by the number of hours. Now be careful. 8 hours 12 minutes is not 8.12 because there are 60 minutes in an hour. So 8 hours 12 minutes. Now what fraction of an hour is 12 minutes? Well, it's 12 out of 60. Okay, it's 12 minutes out of 60. So on your calculator, do 12 divided by 60, and you will get a fifth, which is 0.2. So 8 hours, 12 minutes is 8 hours and another 0.2 of an hour. It is 8.2 hours. So that is the key bit. Do not divide by 8.12. You must be dividing by 8.2. So I'm just going to run over that again. 12 minutes is 12 minutes out of an hour. 12 out of 60 is there is 60 minutes an hour. Get out your calculator and do 12 divided by 60. That is 0.2 hours. So we've got the 8 hours and the 0.2 hours, which is 8.2 hours altogether. So on your calculator, do 5658 divided by 8.2. and we get 690 kilometers per hour. Now, question 17, find an expression in terms of n for the nth term of the sequence. So you've just got to learn this routine, guys, okay? How do we go from 85 to 79, 79 to 73, 73 to 67? We are taking away 6 each time. So step 1 for the nth term is to write down minus 6n. Now step 2, we need to make an adjustment. So think about which would be the 0th term. If you were going to go and add another number to the front of the sequence, what would it be? We think of this as the 0th term. 85 is the first term, 79 is the second term, which would be the one that pushes to the front of the queue. Now as you read it right to left, they're going up in 6s. So 85 plus 6 is 91. That's plus 91. So your final answer is going to be minus 6n, plus 91. Now, you don't need to do this, but you can always check your answer, check you got it the right way round, okay? Now, 85 is the first number in the sequence. This is when n equals 1, position number 1, and so on. 79 is the second one in the queue, 73 the third, and 67 is the fourth. So if you want to, you don't have to, you can always just check that your proposed answer is right. So if I take this fourth term, for example, when n is 4, when I substitute 4 into my nth term expression, do I get 67? So I've got minus 6 times 4, and then I'm going to add on 91. Minus 6 times 4 is minus 24. Minus 24 add 91 is indeed 67. So I know I've got it right. Question 18. Now, I thought this was a really tricky question for a foundation paper. So whenever you've got a compound shape like this, something that's a bit odd, just break it down into rectangles and triangles and what have you. So I'm just going to go down and do a dotted line down here. Okay. Now, what is the area of this rectangle here? Well, it is base times height. The base of that rectangle is x. That A to B is the same as going from E to here. So the area of this rectangle is going to be base times height, x times 14, which is 14x. Now, moving over to the triangle, remember the area of a triangle is half times base times height. Now, this height here we can work out. That's easy enough. This height here, well, all the way up is 14, all the way up the rectangle is 14, this part of which is 8, so this must be 6. Now, what's this length here? Well, we don't actually know. We know it's 13 in total from E to D, and we know A to B is x. So if E to this point here is x, this bit here is the rest to get up to 13. So that length is 13 minus whatever x is. Okay, if x turned out to be 10, that bit would be 3. Now that was tricky. Okay, so the area of this triangle here is half times the base, which is 13 minus x, times the height, which is 6. Now, you can multiply these in any order you like. Okay, so I'm actually going to do the half times 6, which is 3. So this is 3 lots of 13 take away x. Doing my claw here, 3 times 13 is 39. 3 times minus x is minus 3x. So my total area of the shape is the area of the rectangle, which is 14x, added to the area of the triangle, which I've just worked out in red to be 39 minus 3x. And that combined area, I'm told in the question, is 91.8. So I have now constructed an equation, which I will simplify and solve. So on the left-hand side, 14x take away 3x is 11x. So 11x add 39 is 91.8. Take away 39 from both sides. I get 11x equaling 91.8 minus 39, which is, once I press the SD button, 52.8. So 11x equals 52.8. How do I undo a timesing by 11? I divide by 11. So my final answer for x is 52.8 divided by 11, which is 4.8. Question 19. I thought this was another tricky question. So anyway, let's just go and write down all our ratios and have a think. So we've got chicken, ducks, and pigs. We've got chicken, ducks, and pigs. Now we're told first of all that the ratio of chickens to ducks is 7 to 2. And we're also told that the ratio of ducks to pigs is 5 to 9. Okay. Now, we're then told about the number of pigs, but I'm going to come back to that. One way to answer this question is to get a three-way ratio. So we've got a ratio of chickens to ducks to pigs. Now, the problem we have at the moment is that the ducks, we've got 2 on the blue and a 5 in the red. Now, to make them comparable or mergeable, if you like, so you can merge them together, we want those number of ducks to be the same. So how can I really sort of get that common number of ducks? Well, ratios are like fractions. You can multiply them or divide them, and you'll still maintain the same ratio. So how about if I aim to have 10, 2 5s being 10 for both of these ratios? So for the blue ones, I can go and multiply both of them by 5. So 7 5s are 35. So I've got the ratio of chickens to ducks 7 to 2 is the same as 35 to 10. I'm just multiplying them both by 5. Similarly with the red one, if I multiply both of them by 2, I get this comparable number of ducks. So I've got 10 ducks here and 18 pigs here. So do you see, I've now got the 10 cropping up both. It's 35 to 10 and 10 to 18. So overall, the ratio is 35 to 10 to 18. Now I can actually go on and answer the question. We are told there are 36 pigs on the farm. So 36 can go into the pigs column. And we're being asked for the number of chickens. Now, how have I gone from 18 to 36? I've doubled it. So I'm going to double the number of chickens. That gives 70. 35 times 2 is 70. Now, there are other ways to answer this question, okay? You can just do it by sort of focusing on the number of pigs and then just working out the ducks from that and so on. So there are other ways. As long as you can get 70, you're fine. But this is just one way of doing it by way of ratio. Question 20. So we need to do the clause to start with. So we're going to go to claw from there to there and there to there. And a claw from there to there and there to there. So, what is 3x times 2x? Well, 3 times x times 2 times x. 3 times 2 is 6. X times x is x squared. Then our second claw, 3x times 3. So 3 times 3 times x, that's 9x. Claw number 3, minus x times 3x. Well, overall, we're going to get a minus here because it's a minus times a plus. And then x times 3 times x is the same as 3 times x, which is 3x squared. And claw number 4, minus x times 5 is minus 5x. So that's expanding, getting rid of the brackets. We now have to simplify. We have to gather the like terms. So gathering up the x squareds, we've got 6x squared, take away 3x squared. Make sure you minus the 3x squared to give you 3x squared altogether. 6 take away 3 is 3. And then gathering up the normal x's, we've got 9x take away 5x, which is plus 4x. Okay, just be careful. Don't make it a minus. 9 take away 5 is 4. Now, for part B, we've got to make t the subject. Now, remember what that means. We want to move from the formula being p equaling something to t equaling something. So we have to undo stuff to end up with t on its own. Now, work your way towards the t. So leave the a alone for now. The a is really attached to the t. It's closest to the t. Sort out, undo the minus d first. How do we undo a minus d? We add d to both sides. So at that point, we have p add d equals at. So we've nearly got t on its own. We've nearly made t the subject. We now just need to undo the a. Now, at means a times t, or t times a. How do you undo a timesing by a? You divide by a. So we're going to divide both sides by a. So on the right-hand side, that will undo the a, so we're just left with t on its own. Now on the left-hand side, we've got p plus d being divided by a. Now to make it clear that it's the whole of that expression being divided by a. It's not just p, it's not just d, it's both of them. Make it a fraction. Do it as p plus d all over a. Now, for part C, we just need to use our index rules. Okay, we've got W5 times Wn equaling something, and then we've got to divide that by 3. Now, when you divide, you subtract the powers. Now, we've got W cubed on the bottom. Now, we need to end up with it being W to the 10. So, given this is going to be a subtraction of the powers, overall, our numerator, the top half of the fraction, must end up being W13, because 13 take away 3 is 10. So just focusing on the numerator, the top bit now, okay, this top bit, W to the 5 multiplied by W to the n has got to end up being W to the 13. Now when you multiply, you add the powers. 5 add what gives you 13, 5 add 8 gives you 13, so n must be 8. So just to go over that again, when n is 8, we add the powers when we multiply. 5 add 8 is 13, and then we subtract when we divide. 13 take away 3 gave us the 10. Question 21. So work out the probability that the spinner will land on an orange. Now, we're told here that the probability of landing on orange is 3 times the probability of landing on pink. So if we take the pink one, the smaller one, and call that x, then the chances of landing on the orange one is 3 times as big, so that's 3x, 3 times the size. Now, what must all the probabilities add up to? They must add up to certainty, which is a whole, which is 1. So start off by adding up the 3 that we know. 0.2 add 0.12 add 0.08 is, sorry that didn't work, 0.2 add 0.12 add 0.08 is 0.4. Okay, so what we know, if that's 0.4, then the orange and the pink together must add up to the rest, which is 0.6. So 3x plus x has to equal 0.6. So 4x equals 0.6. How do we undo a timesing by 4? We divide by 4. So divide both of those sides by 4. We get x being 0.24. I think. What's 0.6 divided by 4? Sorry, it's 0.15. 0.15. Okay, that's 0.6 divided by 4. Of course it is. You just halve it and you halve it again. Right, now be careful. That is what x is. X is the probability of getting pink. This question is asking for the probability we will land on orange. So that's 3 lots of x, 3 lots of 0.15, which is 0.45. Now, for part B, Grace spins the arrow on the spinner 150 times. Work out an estimate for the number of times you will land on a blue. Right, well, when you spin it once, the probability of landing on a blue is 0.12. So that's the probability when you spin it one time. We're going to spin it 150 times. So you just simply multiply that by 150. So 150 times 0.12 gives us 18. Question 22. Write down the inequalities shown on the number line. So we can see this is all the numbers going to the left of 2. So they're less than 2. Now the fact that it's a shaded in blob, it's a black blob, means we also include the value 2 itself. So x is going to be less than or equal to 2. All these points here to the left of the arrow are all the ones which are less than 2 or equal to 2. Now for part B, we need to write down all the possible values of y, where y is an integer. Remember, an integer means whole numbers. Now, I think the easiest thing here is to try and get y on its own in the middle. So let's halve everything. So if we halve everything, we get this. Now, what this means, because you read it from the middle, so we're reading here right to left, we want all the whole numbers where y is greater than or equal to minus 2, greater than or equal to minus 2, but also less than 3. So greater than or equal to minus 2, so that includes minus 2. So minus 2, minus 1, 0, and then 1, and then 2, but not 3, because y had to be less than 3. Now, for part C, we've just got to solve an inequality, and you just do your normal algebra for this. Just in your mind, just consider it being an equal sign in the middle. So let's get all the t's on the left-hand side. So let's take away 2t from both sides. So 7t take away 2t is 5t. So 5t minus 3, just copy down the inequality, just copy down the less than or equal to. And on the right-hand side, once we've taken away 2t, we're left with 31. Now, how do we undo a minus 3? We add 3 to both sides. So 5t is less than or equal to 34. How do we undo a timesing by 5? We divide by 5. So t is less than or equal to 34 over 5. Now that's a perfectly acceptable answer as an improper fraction, a top-heavy fraction. If you wanted to convert that to a decimal, so you've got 6.8, that would be fine. So if you like, you can have t is less than or equal to 6.8. Question 23. Work out the difference between the population of China, which is 1.4 times 10 to the 9, and the population of Germany, which is 8.2 times 10 to the 7. Now, obviously, to work out the difference, you just take away one from the other. So just pop that into your calculator using that times 10 to the x button, which is probably at the bottom row middle on your calculator. So 1.4 times 10 to the 9, take away 8.2 times 10 to the 7 equals, and what your calculator will give you is a normal number. You will get 1318 and then 1, 2, 3, 6 zeros. Now, we're being asked to give your answer in standard form. Now, in standard form, the first part of your answer is always between 1 and 10. So where would we put a decimal point in this to get a number between 1 and 10? It would go here between the 1 and the 3. So our first part of our answer is 1.318. Then you write times 10 to the something. Now, how many places has the decimal point hopped to end up between the 1 and the 3? Well, it started at the end. So how many hops is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So your final answer is 1.318 times 10 to the 9. The power will always be a positive number when you're dealing with large numbers like populations of countries. Now, for part B, there's quite a confusing way they've written this down. They're basically saying, take the population of Sweden, what would you times it by in order to get the population of Fiji? Okay, so it's quite a confusing way they've written it. I think it's easier to think of it rearranged. If we multiplied both sides by k and then divided by the population of Fiji, we'd end up with k equaling the population of Sweden divided by the population of Fiji. Just check whether you can see that. Okay, we multiply by k and divide by the population of Fiji, we get k being Sweden over Fiji. And that makes it a lot easier to think about. So Sweden is 9.9 times 10 to the 6, and Fiji is 9.1 times 10 to the 5. So just pop that into your calculator. I would suggest you use the fractions button, that one third down on the left. So 9.9 times 10 to the 6, then go down to the bottom half of the fraction, divide it by 9.1 times 10 to the 5, and I get 990 over 91. And it says give your answer to the nearest whole number. So pressing the SD button, I'm getting 10.879 ... So to the nearest whole number, k is going to be 11. Okay, 24a, factorize fully. Now remember, factorizing means putting in the brackets, and the word fully is really indicating to you you're going to be taking out more than one component outside the bracket. So just work your way along. What's the highest common factor of 25 and 45? What's the largest number that goes into it? Well, does 15? No, 15 doesn't go into 25, so we can take out a 5. Now, what about the a's? We've got a to the power of 4 and a to the power of 9. So the highest number common to both is the 4. So we can take out a to the power of 4. Now with the c's, we can take out a c cubed. A c cubed. We can't take out any d's or h's because they're not common to both terms. So that's what we can take outside the bracket. Open up the bracket. And then just think of the claw. 5a to the 4 c cubed times what would give you 25a to the 4 c to the 7 and d. Well, how do we get 25 when we've got a 5? We need another 5. We don't need any more a's. We need 4 more 7s, 4 more c's, sorry. So c to the power of 4, and we need a d. So 5a to the 4 c cubed multiplied by 5 c to the 4 d. Does that give you this first term? Well, we get 25, we get a to the 4, we get c to the 7, we get d, so that's right. Moving on to the second component, the 45 a to the 9 bit. Well, we need a 9. 9 5s are 45. We need 5 more a's. A to the 5. We need to get up to no, c. The c's were fine. We've already got our c cubed. We just need an h. Now just double check, does that work? That second claw. 5 9s are 45. A to the 4 times a to the 5 is a to the 9. We've got a c cubed and we've got an h, so that's right. Now for part B, be careful. On the left-hand side, you've got 2x plus 5 times itself. Okay, and on the right-hand side, we've obviously got 2x plus 3 times 2x minus 1. And now you've just got to do the 4 claws. Okay, 2x times 2x, 2x times 5, x times 2x, 5 times 5. And the same over on the right. 2x times 2x, 2x times minus 1, 3 times 2x, 3 times minus 1. So let's just work our way through those 8 claws. So 2x times 2x is 4x squared. 2x times 5 is 10x. 5 times 2x is also 10x. And 5 times 5 is 25. Now on the right, 2x times 2x is 4x squared. 2x times minus 1 is minus 2x. 3 times 2x is 6x. And 3 times minus 1 is minus 3. Now gather up the like terms. So gather up those x's in the middle. So we've got 4x squared plus 20x plus 25 equaling 4x squared and plus 4x minus 3. Now, both of them have got 4x squared. So if we take away 4x squared from both sides, those cancel. That makes it quite nice. So we've got 20x plus 25 equaling 4x minus 3. So let's get all our x's onto the left by taking away 4x from both sides. So we get 16x plus 25 equaling minus 3. Let's take away 25 from both sides. So we get 16x equaling minus 28. divide by 16, we get minus 28 over 16, which we can halve, minus 14 over 8, we can halve again, minus 7 over 4. So I think that is the final answer. Okay, final question, question 25. Jethro has sat 5 tests, each out of 100. His mean mark for the first 5 is 74. So how many marks in total did he get for the first 5 tests? So because his mean mark is 74, he must have got 74 times 5 in total, which is 74 times 5, which is 370. Now, we're much more familiar with doing it the other way around, okay? His total marks is 370, sorry, that's a 3. 370, divide that by the number of tests, which is 5, you get the mean mark of 74. So, he scored 370 marks in total from his 5 tests. Now, by the time he's taken the 6th test, he wants his mean mark to be 77. So, by the time he's finished his 6 tests, how many marks will he have had to have got in total so far? Well, it's going to be 77 times 6, which is 462. Okay, again, it's a lot easier to see it the other way around. Once he's taken his 6th test, if he had got 462 marks in total, divide that by the number of tests, which is 6, to give him a mean mark of 77. So how many marks does he have to get in this 6th test to get from 370 to 462? Well, we obviously just take one away from the other. Okay, he's got to get 92% in the last test in order to get and end up with a mean mark of 77. So work out the least mark he needs to get. It's 92 out of 100.